Hello and welcome to the Gooners pod. Mike, you gotta wait 5 seconds. Professionalism.
Professionalism? We're not known for that.
Hey, at least I got our podcast name right this time.
That's true. 3 weeks apart. It's been devastating not seeing you. Actually, it hasn't been wonderful. We've been watching the world falling apart around us.
I saw you like 2 days ago on Zoom.
I know, but that doesn't count. We weren't live.
He's like, hey, join this Zoom. We're partying in here. I enter it, and it's just Mike sitting
All
by
that
himself.
is true. All that is true, except for the part where I said we're partying in here. But from a football perspective, the wait's almost over. Before we go to our fantastic guest today, did you see what I accomplished today? Did you see? I've tweeted it out. The news has come out.
I took Twitter off my phone.
It wasn't a shower because it's not Thursday. Don't be silly. But I'm officially the handiest handyman around the house that you can.
Oh, I saw the video. Yeah, you fixed
as a husband. I changed a fucking toilet seat all by myself. It was amazing. I mean, I'm the guy that does it. That we have to call somebody to come over to like chop, like cut the roses. Yeah, exactly. And yet I changed it. I broke it myself. I figured I had to fix it myself. So you know how it is. One really quick shout out on a serious note, and then we'll get to Aston. Someone who I think started following us really, really early on in our podcasting career. Andy, you know him as Mr. Robot Take, Alonzo Spencer. Let us know today that he been diagnosed with coronavirus, and that's no joke, man. So he seems like a young guy. Seems like a young guy, healthy guy. Hopefully he'll push through, and just sending out our love and prayers for you, Lonnie, and for anyone else who's dealing with that. So I met someone over the weekend online, and our guest today, Aston Mack, perfect example of why we do this podcast. As you know, it's not for the worldwide fame. It's not to get advertisers and sponsors and millions of clicks and millions of chicks, because we could be doing a lot better at that. But it's because of the connections that it's allowed us to make. The people who we've cheered for as Arsenal players, people who run the club, people who cover the club, and fans all over the world who have unique experiences. And today's definitely falls into the category of a proper Gooner who's had an interesting last few weeks. So welcome to the Gooners podcast, Aston Mack.
Hey, guys. And now that we're live and people can see me, I just want to do this once in front of everyone. I did that in front of people. I'm so excited.
When I do that, there's a lot more tongue involved. I do it privately.
But hey, guys, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this. And I want to go ahead and say, I know the focus is going to be on me for a second, but thank you guys, because for how quickly you guys reached out to me and how quickly everyone's kind of shown their support for what's going on kind of emphasizes exactly what I was talking about in that interview.
Yeah, and by you guys, I think you're referring to the Gooner family as a whole.
Yeah.
It's this amazing family that we're all part of.
I was going to say, I think the one escape we can have from this crazy world at times is Arsenal, and it's going to become crazier on Wednesday when we start delving into that depression again.
Yeah.
This is why we're here. That Mike and I, we were joking at the beginning of Corona, do we pod through it? And we kind of decided we should, because it gives people an escape from the everyday stresses of life. And so while today might be a little heavy, we'll still try and have some fun. And we're glad to welcome you to this little stupid family that we have called the Gooners podcast.
Yeah, we also kind of took advantage of the fact that, hey, Michael Thomas, Lee Dixon, they had nothing better to do. So
very true.
Coronavirus. So here's what we're cautious about doing. All the disclaimers are coming. We don't want to conflate and mix up the seriousness and the outrage of what's been going on out there in the U.S. and in countries around the world, and make a light puff piece about an Arsenal shirt. I mean, that is not our goal. Obviously, that's how we became aware of you, and we want to find out what the last couple weeks have been like. But open forum in a warm, embracing group to just kind of let us know what the ride's been like the last couple of weeks, and if you want to focus more on one element of it than the other, that's what we're here for. And you haven't asked for any of this. You weren't out seeking publicity. You weren't out trying to get noticed. You weren't at a WWE show in the front row holding up an Arsenal sign, hoping that you would never do that kind of assholicness and stuff.
I mean, Maybe, but no. You're absolutely right. And I first thing I do want we can all crack jokes, we can all laugh, because I want people to know that, like, listen, all the craziness that's going on, especially with the protests and the gravity of what's going on, that's a part of me, absolutely. But I'm also a regular person that likes to crack jokes. I mean, I'm a freaking Arsenal fan, so you gotta have a good sense of humor. But you're absolutely right. It was crazy how this whole thing went down. Men in Blazers apparently tweeted a picture of me at the protest, and I put on my kit because, honestly, this is the biggest family I've got. I always remember Wenger. Like George Way talked about Wenger and how he treated him as a man, and all that equality stuff. So I'm like, yep, gonna throw on my kit. This is how I'm gonna do this, because I was scared out of my mind, to be honest, to be out there. But anyways, Men in Blazers take the picture. Within like 2 hours of that picture going up, Orlando Gooners contacts me, and then the rest is history. So,
yeah, I mean, it really means a lot that, I mean, you actually had a thought process for what was involved in putting on that shirt. I mean, yeah, and again, I mean, I know I like to make fun of myself more than anyone else, but when I put on this shirt, it's like, please, someone notice me and ask me something or do that. But like, I never really thought about it that way until you mentioned that in the interview.
I mean, when it comes down to it, at any bar in the world, if Arsenal's playing and I put on this jersey, I get to forget that I'm black for a minute, and that's fantastic. I just get to be a person. And then the other thing is, I always feel like there's kind of a way, you hear Arteta kind of talk like this and you hear Wenger talk like this, where it's like, if you're going to support the Arsenal, you got to behave in a certain way. And I kind of also wanted to be out there supporting the Arsenal and showing like what we mean as a club. You know what I mean? Like, I really wanted to be out there and be like, hey, this is who we are. This is our identity. And then also, like I said, it was like, maybe there's another, and I did. I got a lot of people coming up to me while I was out there. Hey, man, nice shirt. Yeah, we're out here with you. We support. And I kind of needed that day, to be honest.
Yeah. I just hate the fact that you have to put that on to feel like you're a different person, like that's so upsetting to me to hear someone say that. I get it, but it's wrong,
Now, what percentage of the police were wearing Chelsea jerseys?
Well, I'm sorry for everyone. And especially, I think I saw at least 5 John Terry shirts. So.
This is like, it's already going off the rails in a way. So I have 2 questions for you before I throw it back over to Andy. First of all, how is it possible you didn't end up picking Aston Villa as your team? What's the story behind how you became an Arsenal supporter? Because if it's anything other than I was looking at the table, then that makes sense. But if you're looking at the table, I mean,
I'm a weird guy. Like, I'm really into like doing things a certain way. And Arsenal is a team out of all the teams that does not sacrifice their principles. It helps that Aston Villa wasn't doing too well, I guess, because, they weren't. But what I always loved about Arsenal was, I loved listening to Wenger speak. That's just the truth. And he always says, like, we got to do it this way. We've got to hold. And then to watch us play, you want to know something hilarious, and you guys are all going to try to kill me for this. A lot of my friends were playing FIFA, and I picked up Chelsea because they were blue. And I actually tried to like them in the Premier League, and then I grew to hate them because they're evil. And then Arsenal were like the good guys, and that's why I picked them.
Yeah, it doesn't take too long to figure that out. I mean,
when
you go to a Villa game, though, you take the train to Birmingham, and then you get on another local train that takes you to Aston. I don't know if you know that or not, but like that's where Villa Park is. So I mean, we're happy you made the right choice. All I know is if there was a team called Feinberg-Hampton Wanderers, I would have like thrown everything away and moved to Feinberg-Hampton to just to be
you have to understand that we're in the United States. We're not in England, so I have a little trauma over my name. I'm old. I got over it now, but there was at least 12 years of school where people figured out what my name sounded like, and it was awful.
Oh yeah. Now, I got to go back to Mike with this Feinberg-Hampton thing. Now, I'm assuming that you would like that because ham is in the name of that team name.
And so it's fun, which describes me perfectly.
So, based on your age, Aston, you presumably latched onto Arsenal in the glory days of Arsene Wenger. We happen to know he means a lot to you. No, so tell us a little bit about like just how that relationship came about then with.
So we're talking about 2000, the 2009, 2010 year.
Okay.
I started watching the Premier League. I didn't even know about the Invincibles at the time, which is what everybody always assumes. No, I had no idea. Thierry Henry is my favorite player. Don't get me wrong. I literally probably watch a clip of him every single day. But what happened was I just watched us play. I literally can't say anything more than that. The way that we play is artwork. And that's what drew me. Like, I watched Man United play, I watched Chelsea play, I watched all of them play. They play in these really like, oh, we gotta win, super drip. But Arsenal kind of play in this way that's just gorgeous and artful and expressive, and they win expressively, and that's what was always more important to me.
I've always had like, for me, whenever I hear Americans who will say, well, I started supporting them in 2009, I always get like a little, to me, that's more impressive because you literally joined when it was dog shit. I mean, there was nothing exciting outside of the way we played football.
Yeah, and the only thing that I loved about us.
There was a hope that like recent history could be brought back at that point.
Right. But if you didn't.
Well, it's like with me when I came back. When I moved back to the States, I lost track of the team because of it was the early '90s, and then latched back on as of the Champions League final. And from that point on, I was like completely back in with Arsenal again. But it was like I literally bought at the highest point and continued to ride it down and down and down. But with every year, the club, the
it is kind of like it was a sad state of affairs because like then immediately after getting attached, because I wasn't even into sport before. Like I didn't like sports. I wasn't into like football or baseball or any of the American things or basketball. So I got really attached to Arsenal, and then they just kept kicking me in the balls over and over and over. I mean, I literally got to watch Fabregas leave, Van Persie leave. I didn't care about Nasri, but he left.
Yeah, what is the word for that? We're all like, what are we like, cuckolds or like?
It's called being bitches.
Like, yes,
we're just bitches.
Call it the bitches podcast. But I have heard, and I just want to kind of delve into this real quick. One more thing about Arsene Wenger. I mean, what you said in your interview about what he's meant to you, and why. I mean, that's. A lot of us take a lot for granted. We look at sports, we look at the people we see on television as sports figures that aren't real people, that don't have a practical application to your life one way or the other. So really, why care one way or the other about them? But very different in your case.
Yeah, let me say something to that actually, because I want to be clear. I tried to like Chelsea, and one of the things that turned me off, and I'm sorry, Chelsea fans, I know it's not all of you, I know it's, but it's a racist club. You know what I mean? And then there are
87% of them.
Yeah.
I don't like generalizing, but
and then you can't like Tottenham because they're shit. So there's like no way you can love them. And then everybody loves Manchester United, which is kind of the bandwagon thing. But Arsenal really, like the way that Wenger kind of moved. He wasn't insulting. He wasn't the guy that took people down a peg. He was always speaking very highly. He never threw his own players under the bus. He always talked about his failures in the team. And it was very clear to me, and I'm sure it was very clear to most Arsenal players at the time, what was going on behind the scenes. Like, we didn't have money. We had a board that was inept. And Wenger just continued to take it on the chin every single time and say, take me instead of taking everybody else. Like, put it on me instead of, and that really spoke to me. And then when I got to hear some of the quotes that he's had, some of the players, I mean, what all of the players that look like me would say about him, it won me over 100%. I was enamored with him.
When was that George Weah quote? I mean, that is one of the most impactful quotes and comments in sports history, I think.
I can't remember what the date was, but I do remember him just saying like that Arsene Wenger treated him like a man and showed him what it meant to be equal and things of that nature. And that was really like, wow, dude. And then obviously after that, I'm like, of course, my team. Duh. Of course that's what he said.
Exactly. And, it goes without saying that it's been a tough few weeks around here. you would be well within your rights of saying a tough 31 years, if not longer. But we know that there's been a lot of protests all over against racial inequality, systemic racism in policing, and I personally. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say it's been rough. I mean, I've been out there. We've been tear gassed. We've been pepper sprayed. Personally, and this is the funny thing, I want to get this out there for people that are maybe unaware. Maybe you guys are sitting at home and you're only seeing the protests on TV. Me in a city, and I want to say 90% of the cities, we're all completely nonviolent. We're all just sitting around waving signs and protesting. I think in my city of Orlando, there were 2 windows broken in 14 days. You know what I'm saying? But the response from the police has been curfew, push it up, authoritarianism. I mean, I don't know who their publicist is, but if people are out there protesting authoritarianism, maybe don't show up in full riot gear, But and I say this lightly, and I make jokes, but I mean, not 5 feet in front of me, I saw a 12-year-old girl get pepper sprayed.
Yeah.
So it's just, we've got to do something. We've got to change something. And honestly, I'm kind of at the age where I'm old enough to kind of do something. And this is kind of where the arsenal kind of comes back into it, where it's like, am I behaving the right way? Am I doing the right thing? Well, what is the right thing here? Well, we believe in leadership. Like, just like Wenger believed in leadership all over the pitch, everybody being aware of everybody's roles, everybody helping out each other. I felt like, okay, well, let's do that. And people took really good pictures of me in my jersey. So I said, hey, maybe I need to start a group. And that's why I actually started the Orlando Freedom Fighters. Shameless plug here.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I was about to mention that if you didn't. I mean, when you talk about leadership, and instead of just sitting around wondering why it sucks so much, taking things into your own hands. I mean, you alone can't change anything, but without you, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, exactly. And our leaders have let us down. So it's like, we got to do it. We got to be the leaders. You know what I mean? And so, we started the group. We've put up a lot of policies. We're having our policies translated by lawyers right now. We're pushing for a lot of changes. So I'm really happy. And honestly, it's shown me how wonderful a community I have here in Orlando, how strong my community is. And if anything, it's actually frustrated me a little bit because I have so many talented people working with me, so many energetic, brilliant people. And our city and our society just wastes them. It's like, again, I'm not trying to, tying everything back to Wenger. Wenger used to find people that would just be on the bench somewhere in the second tier of league. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he would pull them out, and turns out, hey, look, it's Sleb. Hey, look, it's Nasri. Hey, look, it's Song. Players that turn into something. And that's kind of what I always took away from me, is that it's not like you and I don't have a lot of difference. The difference between somebody that's like a legend or somebody that's known, it's just the opportunity. And if you give people the opportunity to shine, they will shine.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And I've seen pictures from the Sentinel and from other things and of both you and around the country of dialogue. And I understand that this is unfortunately still far too much the exception than the rule. But when I see dialogue between protesters and police, regardless of race, color, creed, sexuality, when I see dialogue, I have hope. You've been on the line of that dialogue. Is it hope inspiring for you, or is it?
It's hopeful, but it's also like, I hate being a jerk because I kind of had to be a jerk to get that dialogue. I know there's a famous picture of me out there right now shaking hands with Sergeant Wilkes, which was one of the first officers to speak with us. I have gotten officers to take off their masks, take off their riot gear, try to de-escalate. But with him, and to get them to actually speak about some of these issues, I had to embarrass him. I had that entire crowd behind me take a knee for George Floyd. And then the officer tried to tell me he's never seen racism. He's never seen police brutality. He's never seen these things. I go, okay. And I turn around and I go, those of you in the crowd that have experienced police brutality at the hands of the OPD, which is our Orlando Police Department, stand up. Half the crowd stands up. I go, those of you that have directly seen, not through a camera, not through media, physically seen police brutality at the hands of the OPD, please stand up. By that time, 90% of the crowd was standing up. I'm like, how is it possible that everyone's seen it and you guys have it. And that kind of broke him into talking to me. So,
well, it's unfortunate that it took that. And I mean, a lot of us, and I like to think that I'm not included in this, but a lot of us and people who I consider friends, people who I've gotten to know a lot better in the last couple of weeks in the sense of how kind of on the surface I may have known them. You just realize that the limited experience, the limited exposure, discussions, dialogue, it just limits your ability to have empathy.
Yeah, it really does.
That's what has to change. And if the method isn't appealing to you, if it goes beyond what you would consider the norms of society, look at the big picture. And again, this isn't meant for me to kind of have my political views, but I can't respect enough how what you're doing, and I love hearing how it ties in with values that it's neat that it all ties together to our club and to our manager, but that's kind of just a unique perspective on it.
Well, that's why I picked Arsenal because we're the good guys. We have good guy values that I feel like we were all raised up on, but apparently, you call Chelsea and they don't know those values. So, I guess it isn't all of us. But yeah, that's why I love Arsenal. I love the Arsenal because of what we represent as more than a club. Because we are more than a club. You know what I mean? We really are. Everywhere we go, the support, the love, the friendship, the camaraderie. It's more than football at this point. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, it is. So let me ask you. What do you think about how football in general has approached racism? Specifically, tell me if you would disagree with my assessment, which is that we're seeing some great overt shows of unity and a desire to allow footballers to express themselves, especially what we've seen recently with Arsenal, I think Liverpool, maybe some of the footballers in Germany since their restart. But I mean, UEFA especially, they haven't really done much to reform racism. So do you think the most recent change is the step in the right direction?
So I want to talk a little bit about levels and how capitalism works. Capitalism is a system that has workers and owners. And what you're seeing right now with all the people protesting, that's because 40 million Americans are out of a job. That's the working class out there protest. This is more than Black Lives Matter. This is a working class thing. And what you're seeing from the players is they're snapping. They're done. They're done having, Wenger spoke eloquently about it, but let's be honest, nobody was allowed to talk about it. No players were allowed to talk about it. But now the players are snapped. They're like, hey, listen, we have this freedom. We have this platform. They too are the workers of the league. And it's about time that the owners kind of stepped up. And I think that's what you're pointing out is like, hey, listen, it's great that the entire Arsenal team had a Black Lives Matter shirt on and took a knee. But Stan Kroenke, you're a billionaire. What are you doing for the players in your club? You have people in your club that are part of the Black community. How are you supporting them? UEFA, you have entire countries where people are throwing bananas at players, and you don't think that you need to step in and maybe take a serious stance against this? And I don't mean just a banner of let's kick racism out of football.
Yeah.
How about we kick the racists out of football?
I've been saying it for the longest time, and I got some backlash because my thing was, one racist fan, you're out of the competition. You're 10 points deducted, and everyone's like, well, then one racist fan could come in and just from another opposing team. It's like those fuckers have a million cameras. They know who the fuck is entering that stadium and who isn't, and they'll know immediately if that person is an Arsenal supporter, Chelsea, Tottenham. They'll know immediately who they belong to.
It's the same with like pitch invaders. There is kind of a slippery slope if you just assign the punishment without research, because then you have sabotage. But
this is what I'll say about that. Ask yourself, and it's the same thing I told the commissioners that were out there today. Okay, you tried something. Like, I do know that they do ban racist players. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Is it working? Does it get the job done? Well, then maybe take another step, and nobody will fault you if your next step falls short, if your next step doesn't get the job all the way done, you're human. But we want to see you trying to fix the problem. And if what you're doing isn't fixing the problem, then you need to look for more solutions.
Yeah, I mean, here, Aston, at the Gooners podcast, Mike falls short all the time.
Yeah.
I've tried to kick him out, and the fucker just keeps coming back. You know, but I'm trying. Listen, people know I'm trying.
I was raised under Arsene Wenger, but when it comes down to it, man, you got to figure out how to pressure teams. Like, you got to figure out how to deal with actual pressure on the pitch. And I'm sorry, Wenger, I love you. You're a legend, but you weren't coming up with solutions, so we need you to move on. And it's as a silly joke. But
how did this go completely off? How did I get in trouble?
You know, I will say this, like, and it's just a question to Aston. So you brought up the Kroenke part, right? The billionaire owner. So as a season ticket
millions to presidential campaigns,
right? And okay,
try to act like racism doesn't exist,
right? So.
Not only does he pay millions in that, he also creates stadiums in LA that push people over triple their rent and immediately disenfranchises those that were living there before without an exit strategy. So now there's just a bunch of homeless people that look like me.
Yeah, if you want to hate Stan Kroenke because we haven't won the league in 16 years, fine, but this is why you should hate Stan Kroenke.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it.
There are reasons to hate Stan Kroenke than
now, let me ask you this, because we've seen a lot, I think, around, specifically in the U.S., with the owners of certain sports teams coming out vocally saying we're now supporting the players and what have you. Again, I'm a white guy, and so I see this completely differently than you, but do you feel like this might be a step in the positive direction that the owners are allowing the players to wear these shirts, take a knee, have voice on their social media platforms, or do you think it's a way they don't even know this is happening?
It should never come to allowing.
Well, no, but Mike, just hold on. Let's see if is it a step in the right direction for the ownership group?
So the step in the right direction, this is a complicated, and there's this special sauce that I like to put on everything called nuance, because things aren't just black and white. But there are certain sports that have done fantastically. No one's aware of this, but NASCAR fired a guy for saying the N-word like years ago, and they've just banned the Confederate flag, and they didn't need anybody to ask them to do that.
Right.
But I do understand that people need space to grow and change. The NFL is a great example. The NFL was a terrible organization when it comes to the racism and the issues around racism. But the fact that the owner of the NFL that Drew Brees not only corrected himself, but then got the owner to come out and say, hey, this is wrong. We've messed up. And that's all anybody's ever asking for. Admit that you were wrong. Admit that you did the wrong thing. And then, okay, we're open. Now we're open. Now show us with your action what you're going to do, what you're going to do next. So is it enough that they came out and they said that and they're allowing people to take a knee? Yeah, it's good. It's kind of good. But is it enough? No. Hire Kaepernick back. That'll be enough. That'll be the step that shows us that you're really taking that step. Is allowing players to take a knee on the field really enough for football, for example? No. Why aren't you working with Sterling, who's been talking about racism in soccer for years? Like, do what he says. Ask him. Create a dialogue. Create a dialogue with the black players. We trust me. We have ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I always ask the question around when Kaepernick first took a knee, why the NFL didn't jump on that and say, let's partner with players, because it became such a shit show and then the true answer to it is because now we're seeing it now with them backtracking, saying we made a mistake 4 years ago. It's a bunch of white guys who didn't give a shit because revenue, sponsorships. That's who.
Exactly.
Revenue, sponsorships, and their relationship with a particular person who exerted control over them, and maybe they're feeling like they don't necessarily have to.
Now you're seeing all of the big brands step up and say, we fucked up, not necessarily saying that, but they're saying, we need to do better, we need to change. Now they're the ones paying the NFL. The NFL are backtracking, saying, oh, we should do more now. It's like you said, it's money, right?
And it's the capitalism thing. And I want to go ahead and point this out, like, Black Lives Matter. Black lives matter because they don't matter in America right now. And that's why we say Black lives matter. But other lives do matter too. And especially what disgusts me is that our players will take a knee for Black lives matter, but you'll scream at Ozil for pointing out that the Uyghurs are literally being in a concentration camp right now. Yeah. What about all the things that are happening that you are silencing all the time? And it's unfortunate that the NFL and basketball, for example, take so much money from China, and they want to say, I get it that the Black Lives Matter thing is an American problem and you're an American league, so you can care about that. But it's dirty money. Like, do you take money from the KKK? You wouldn't. So why do you take money from China?
Right. How do you feel about Arsenal's reaction to Ozil versus their reaction?
I hate it. Actually, I absolutely found it disgusting. And I know Ozil is a divisive player. I get that. But right now, nobody's complaining that Bellerin's talking about Black Lives Matter. Nobody is. Why were we complaining when Ozil was complaining about his people being in concentration camps?
Complaining or failing to show any level of support whatsoever. I mean, I'm not a fan of Ozil on the pitch.
But that's just it, though, Mike.
Of his the baggage that he kind of comes along with.
But if he didn't,
about him is his social awareness.
But Mike, if he came with 25 assists and 16 goals and actually stepped up to the plate as a player, I don't think anyone would be complaining about it. We're a fickle human race. You know what I mean? And if it was Messi who stepped up about it, for example, it would have been a different story.
It would have been if Messi stepped up, then everybody would have stepped up.
Exactly.
We'd be having the exact same movement, but inside for that. And
they used to say that about Michael Jordan as well. I mean,
that's the sad thing, that we can't separate those ideas. Like, Messi's the greatest player on the planet doesn't mean he's the greatest philanthropist on the planet. We don't need to just listen to him. Ozil may be past it, but that doesn't mean he's wrong on cultural and ethnic issues. And in fact, the fact that he gets so much flack for how he left Germany, I literally, and I'm just sitting there, guys, I get it. Yell at Ozil about the fact that he's not getting the assists. Yell at him about that. But do not conflate those two completely mutually exclusive things. And that's some of the things that honestly, I get a little disgusted with, to be honest.
Mike, let's take a second and jump into the chat group and just say hello to some of the people listening. We've got Fredo. We've got David Ziegler. We have got Jason Jones, Aaron DeMello, Danny the GFP up late, Liam Smith, Ryan Koss. Oh, Rob Ford in the house. And God, the most beautiful man on the planet, my son's godfather, Joey Murphy, is here.
Joseph R. Murphy, the 8th.
The 8th.
Fredo on the planet. Wow, guy.
Did I say Fredo? Well, you know what? Have you ever seen Joey when the Rocky Mountains are silhouette behind him with the sun just setting?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually have. I mean, you asked me that. I see him that. I see him like that in my dreams all the time. So,
but I will say this too, Mike. You know, and as well as I do, that yesterday was my wedding anniversary, and that motherfucker couldn't drive 40 minutes to have a pedicure with me.
Who's had more pedicures with you, me or him?
You.
Yeah, and I live 2,000 miles away. Pedicure, buddies. Yeah.
Can I point out something? David Ziegler says, honestly, reflecting on your own biases is one of the toughest things to do, which is why when you do it, you become a hero. This is why you should strive to do it. I admit all the time, I used to have terrible ideas about gay culture and gay society. I was an idiot. I was 12. But as you get older and you reflect on those ideas and you put yourself in those cultures, you grow. And that's what we really need to do. We need more growing and more celebration of growth.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's why kind of, pulling out tweets from 2011 sometimes isn't the most accurate way to define somebody. It's the totality of you can become enlightened. You can become more educated. You can become more familiar and exposed to something that you weren't exposed to before, and that's the fruit and the oxygen that you need to become a better person.
Is that why David keeps sending me all the different magazines I keep getting?
Yeah,
to to push me to be a better person.
Wonderful.
I ask you guys a question real quick.
Yeah.
So speaking of growth and getting better, do we have a shot on Wednesday?
It's a good transition.
You know what? I said to my neighbor Tim, who's been on the pod, obviously a Gooner, I said, what better way to play City than coming out of the break? I said, what? And then his response was, remember last season when we played them to start the season and they fucking whitewashed us?
That was different.
And I was like,
let me tell you why it's different. And I don't have
Can I try to pull this back a little bit, Aston?
Go ahead.
Because we want to cover this like full on, but there's something we want to get to first. And it has to do with the Arsenal community, and then we'll get to kind of like pulling our hair out, if you have any, about the whole football thing. I know you've been connected with the Orlando Gooners. They're a great group. The greater Arsenal America family has kind of reached out. Do you watch games with folks? Do you?
Yeah,
do you do the social thing? How does that what have you? I think you mentioned you were in New York and.
So I watched it. I went to New York when they did the New York trip. Orlando Gooners doesn't remember because I moved away, but when they were formed, I used to drink beers with them. And I actually, when I was in Vegas, I lived in Vegas for a little while. The Las Vegas Gooners were my family over there. So yeah, every time whenever there's a game, and this is again why I love the Arsenal family, I literally just like whatever city I'm in, I'm like, okay, where's our bar? Because I know our people are somewhere, and I just go out and meet them.
Now, don't post on the Arsenal America website to ask where the bar is, because then you're going to get completely made fun of by various people who are like, there is Google. Well, Arsenal America reached out to us, speaking of them, and so we want to welcome a special guest who's going to join us for the rest of the podcast. He is the Secretary General of Arsenal America. We like to call him the Grand Poobah, El Presidente, the King of Kings. He's a real macher. We decided to let him on because he was hocking me in China with his Michigas. It's Jeffrey El Machismo Werner. How are you, Jeffrey, my bubba?
Well, after an introduction like that, I mean, my day has been completely made. Thanks for having me on, Aston. It is an absolute pleasure to meet you. Looking forward to dissecting what could be a great day on Wednesday or yet another terrible one in a moment. But before we do that, I reached out to Mike to get in touch with you. Speaking for myself, when I saw the Men in Blazers video, I believe on Saturday afternoon, was kind of having a relaxing afternoon, and it popped up in my feed, and I watched it, and I listened very carefully to what you had to say. I mean, first of all, it was saying Men in Blazers do anything that had to do with Arsenal, which was lovely to begin with. But listening to your words, and I realize that I'm echoing a lot of what Mike has already said, by the end of that video, quite frankly, there were tears in my eyes. And it was listening to you talk about what so many of us have also come to view as a community and a family, and listening to what you had to say about Arsenal and what the values meant and what the club has meant to you and how that inspired what you've... Thank you. What inspired you to do what you've done in Orlando. We got to talk. I got to talking with anyone who I thought would be interested, which was a lot of people, and the reaction was pretty universal. Just floored by what you've done, and impressed and moved.
Thank you.
And it, for those of us that have been sort of students of the culture of the club, I have taken great pride ever since I learned. I don't know, within the last 10 years, I've been a Arsenal fan for 20 years, but as crazy as I am now for probably 10 or 12, learning that Arsenal is the first club and the only club in London in the 70s and 80s that never had a problem with the National Front because we policed ourselves, that we were the only club in London that never had perimeter fencing because we policed ourselves, that this culture of tolerance and inclusion is something that is one of the core values of our club. It really touched all of us. And seeing you as an exemplar of those values and putting them into actual practice is something that it means a lot to all of us out there. You really have set an example for a lot of us to follow. You know, it's one thing.
Are you about to give him a knighthood?
No.
Just gonna ask you. Are you gonna ask him to marry you? Like,
no. I am, however, going to ask him to accept. We would like from Arsenal America to present you with a membership for next season.
Wait, what?
We would like to present you with an Arsenal America membership for next season.
Not an Arsenal membership. An Arsenal America.
An Arsenal America membership. Yes.
No, that's really what is that? That's all. Forgive my ignorance. What exactly does that?
I'll talk to you offline after the pod.
I don't want to get my because
no, don't.
My head that get me really excited. So
no, look. I think there's going to be there might be some additional conversations down the line, Jeff.
There will be, and there's one other thing I would also like to tip you off to, which you might have a whiff of. But the club has come a-calling, and they're going to be in touch with you soon.
Man! You have no idea. You have no idea. Like, when I saw Aubameyang retweet that thing, I broke in two. I mean...
Yeah. Mike, I've always wanted to know...
I'm back.
I always wanted to know the response that people have when they're asked to come on our podcast. And that's it.
Yeah, we're gonna like do a clip of that, and it'll be like, instead of like finding out that the club was trying to get in touch with him and stuff like that, that was how he reacted when we asked him to come on the podcast. Why he was already on camera, we have no idea. It was just weird. But so yeah, I mean, once you find out the value of this membership,
I want to tell you something real quick.
You need some tax advice.
Which is, I'm sorry. I obviously put myself in front of people a lot. So I'm good at doing like this, like calming myself down. But when you guys reached out to me, I absolutely did the same thing. You can ask my girlfriend. Like, I freaked out. I was like, there's no way they want me to talk. Why do they want me to talk? I'm just a guy.
Well, yeah. And we just have 10 listeners. So it's really nice.
More people will see this tomorrow.
We have more connections than we do listeners. So let's just say that we know the right people. We just none of them tune in. No, I mean it's not about the membership. It's what you do with the membership. It's just kind of another inclusion type of thing. And we'd love to see you at some of the meetups.
That's what it's about.
One of the best experiences in my life was when we went out to New York, and I got to be amongst all the Arsenal fans, getting to scream all of our chants. I got to see Ramsey play. Like, that was enough for me. I don't care about the score. I know we didn't win, but I got to see Honor. I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm used to not winning.
I know we didn't beat an average MLS team, but that I've always said at those gatherings, and it was true in 2016 in California. It was true again last summer all over the country. The 2 hours where the game's going on are the least important 2 hours of the entire experience, because it's what happens before and after those 2 hours that really kind of wake you up as to what the Gooner family is all about. So, I got to
meet our blog there, and that was awesome.
Yeah, we sat next to him in the press box, and I think that was the worst experience of his life. Stay tuned, because he will be an upcoming guest on our podcast, by the way.
Oh man, he's like one of my favorite people. So
yeah, no,
he's great.
Andrew's cool. Do you remember how when Oprah gave cars to everybody in the audience?
Yeah.
It ended up being this big clusterfuck because everyone had to like get an accountant and pay $10,000 in taxes. I mean, like, we're gonna, whatever the taxes are on your Arsenal America membership, we're gonna cover those.
Okay, yeah, because like you guys are already doing a lot. I appreciate.
We're gonna make it rain with the $10 to cover the taxes on the Arsenal America.
You have no idea. One of the main reasons I'm excited about this, because I'm not sure all of what that means, but I get the gist that it means I get to talk about Arsenal with more Arsenal people, and that's all I can. Like, that's all I want to do.
Mike, if we're gonna cover the $10, you got to start the OnlyFans page up again. Because yeah,
I know someone I could go to for advice on that. But look, it isn't about the value. The point is, you are And
the point is that you're someone we want to have around.
Always been part of a community, and this is the community reaching out to you and saying, please, let's.
I got a great segue.
Go ahead.
Well, hold on, because there's.
Damn it! This was the perfect segue.
Okay, go ahead with it.
Do you know who also we want to have stay around is Obama?
Yeah.
That was good, Andy.
That's a good segue, but
God, don't take it back.
you blew up one of my bits, but that's all right. That's all right. You wouldn't have
Do
liked
your
it anyway.
You ruined it.
I can't do a bit now. It's supposed to be kind of like organic. So yeah, Aubameyang.
Like, nothing in your life is organic.
The Aubameyang thing.
Mike has never had something organic in his life. Ever.
I think I ate an organ once. That was about the only thing.
Someone once came up to Mike and said, "This is an organic baconator." He threw it in their face.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's talk about Aubameyang because he is the name on the back of your shirt that you are wearing.
Yes.
And that you have worn. And is it safe to assume he's your favorite player or
At the club right now? Yes, he is. I love Laka too. And somebody's going to kill me, but I like Ozil. I just don't think he's very good.
So we're here again, yet another player entering the final year of his contract. Will he, won't he begins. The inability for us to be absolutely sure whether a contract's been offered or it hasn't. There's cryptic messages on Instagram from his family, which have happened in the past. We always end up in these situations. I'll start with Aston and then Jeff, Mike. Do you think he's coming back to Arsenal?
Okay, so I was pretty confident he was going to stay because of the COVID situation. And then I heard Arteta's interview today, which is exactly what Wenger used to sound like right before somebody leaves. Mm-hmm. So all that I'm confident. It's up to the player. It's up to the, we just need to meet his demands. All that, I've heard it before. So that gets me full of dread. And
then let me piggyback on that, and then I'll throw it over to Jeff. I felt the same way, and then he went real high on Eddie, and I thought, well, Aubameyang's gone because he's selling us the Eddie tune now. Jeff, what do you think? Do you think he stays or goes?
Honestly, I thought he was gone before hearing Arteta speak today, which at least brings it up to 20% chance he stays. We had a little chat beforehand. I think that Arteta has gotten very good very quickly at Wengerian doublespeak. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a point at which there's enough that he said that if he was just blowing smoke, he might not have. What I really honed in on was sort of putting the onus on the club to show to Aubameyang that he was wanted and was a major part of what is to come. So that to me was a little bit of a change of pace. So I hope so. I'm a little bit more optimistic than I was this morning. So we'll see.
Mikey, what do you think?
Do you know he's 30 until he's 31?
Yeah.
That all kicked off again this afternoon. And
that's not how that works.
Trust me, George. I know how it works, and I'm just pointing out I'm just messing with you. So you're messing with a guy who understands maths.
I think our friend Drew Thompson said it. Ultimately, and again, we're all Arsenal fans, but what do we have to offer the guy? I mean, he's in the twilight of his career. He can go to 4 or 5 teams in the world and compete for the Champions League. And
what we have to offer him, and it's what you always say we have to offer.
Yeah, no, I can tell you what we were offering him. I could tell you what we have to offer. And this is the only reason I had hope was we're offering him somewhere to play. Unfortunately, with the COVID situation and the way that teams are set up, the only real team that really needed a striker was in the Premier League. I think that our board is competent enough now that we're not going to sell our best player to direct rivals in the league anymore. So that means he has to go overseas. Right now, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico, Bayern, none of them can buy him. None of them have the money to afford Aubameyang right now, unless they do some major offloads. And I think that with their inability to purchase, especially when you're talking about a thin squad like Barcelona has a really thin squad right now. There's no way they can pick up another striker. They just bought Griezmann. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he's already getting pushed out of the squad.
Process.
Our board is so good. We'll probably send him over to Roma and get Mkhitaryan on the tail. Well, we're going to pay for a player that's already our own.
Like, wait, what do we do? I think he'll come back. I would like him to come back, but I think we're prepared to handle it if he doesn't. And I'm ready to see Martin. I don't know about Eddie, but Martinelli. I think if he has to take that role over, why not? I mean, it may be too much too soon for him, but look, if we can, if he's not going to resign, then we have to sell him. I'm not of the kind. I don't believe in letting his contract run dry, but I also wouldn't sell him to a rival. I wouldn't sell him within the Premier League. So I just don't know what's going to happen with him.
I think that Aston hit the nail on the head with that, particularly with the overseas clubs. When you're looking at the couple of clubs that he's been the most linked with are Spanish clubs, and the amount of wage cuts they've been forced to take, so on and so forth, giving on top of the sort of financial house of cards that Barcelona was built upon anyway, can go ahead and roll them out to start with. So,
well, I also think, in the current situation and climate, I don't think just for Arsenal, but I think a lot of clubs, we're going to see a lot of player swaps. So if you want Aubameyang, one of those big clubs, give us something in return, something that, and whether it's, hey, I'll take a great center back if it.
They were talking about the guy from Frankfurt that went to Madrid and hasn't really hit it off there.
But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying about the player swaps thing, but that's exactly why I think that it probably won't happen, because, again, Barcelona and Real Madrid have relatively thin squads right now, and you're going to need more than a Dembele to move an Aubameyang. Maybe you're not going to give us Griezmann. We're not going to take Suarez. So you're going to need to put something, and they just don't have.
They might dangle him titty in front of our face, and you know what happens when you get him titty in front of your face.
Someone changed the whole thing.
See, this is I've just bought into this 100%. I think you're a natural for the Gooners podcast right now, because you get us, man. You get us. So let's talk about Wednesday then, because we're pushing up on the hour. We almost broke into it earlier, and then if we had done so, I would have had to just kept Jeff in that little depressing-looking waiting room for another 20 minutes. So I didn't want to do that, but
I thank you for that.
Yes, and the sound you're hearing is people jogging all over the world, pulling out their earplugs every time Jeff speaks, because. And this is our fault. Your volume is 8 times as high as the rest of us, but there's nothing you can do about that. But
God damn it, Jeff! You've ruined the podcast.
You've done it again.
Now Arsenal never win the Premier League.
This is the podcast where
you're the Ozil of this podcast.
This is what I get for trusting Mike to do anything.
Yeah,
That's what I've been saying.
He's a good person. He stands up for what he believes in, but he sucks. No, I'm just kidding. No. This is the podcast where when we have guests on and we have audio problems, because our production values are a 0, they're not a 9, they're like a 2, and we blame our guests. Now, Wednesday,
love you too, boo.
Wednesday 8:15 UK time, we hit the pitch against City. I didn't realize, this is how little I've been paying attention. I didn't realize until yesterday that the games weren't being played in neutral venues anymore.
Good morning.
I thought that was still a thing. I also there's something else I didn't know, which we'll get to in the user questions. But am I crazy for thinking we can get a result out of this?
You're not.
I'm not normally the optimist, but I've been inundated by pictures from Stu and from David of the players training. They look like they've been working hard. I haven't seen any pictures of Manchester City players training.
The more you hope, the more things are stacked in our favor, the more likely we are to lose.
No, that's true. But yeah, I mean, because we're the contrarians. We always do the opposite of what we think is going to happen.
The only thing that gives me hope is that we now have Pep Guardiola's golden boy as our coach.
Maybe
and he's going to know everything that Pep is going to do. And when Pep needed something in a game, and now granted, I think Pep is a genius, but every once in a while when shit hit the fan for City, he turned to one person on the bench who he looked to as a confidant to say something needs to change. And now that guy is our coach. And so the only thing I have in my back pocket of hope is that Arteta can bring a game plan to neutralize, but they are fucking strong. And I wouldn't be surprised if they beat us 2-1. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat us 7-0. I don't think we're going to get anything out of it. I just don't.
I don't know. Aston, what do you think?
So the problem is, and I'm going to say something controversial. Our defensive shape isn't actually that bad. Our attacking shape isn't actually that bad. Our transitions are terrible, and that has a lot to do with the midfield. And the issue at hand is we're going to lose the ball in the midfield, especially when you have Xhaka that has an inability to turn built into his system. And what's going to happen is when we lose the ball in the midfield or we make an errant pass, City's really, really efficient at sussing out those weaknesses and taking that and turning that into the goal. If you look at the last games that we played, we actually, when we have the ball, we don't look bad against them. We actually don't, even though they're way better than us. We look like we can score. It's as soon as we lose the ball, they immediately score. And that has to do with our inability to transition. And right now, our personnel scare me in the midfield. I mean, Guendouzi, I like him. He can run with the ball. He can pick a pass. But unfortunately, he's positionally unaware. Ceballos doesn't have enough defensive nuance, even though he did a great job on, like, Newcastle. But Xhaka, for the love of everything, cannot turn. Cannot turn. So that's
not his game.
Let's go to Andy.
On us.
Let's go to Andy. Anytime there's a negative comment about Xhaka, we have to go to
Andy. I would agree. He was. Here's the deal, Mike. Fuck you. Here's the second deal. I'm really one thing I'm really excited that COVID has brought to the world is for Tierney and Bellerin to get back to 100% health.
So you're willing to sacrifice hundreds of thousands of human lives so that Tierney and Bellerin
don't put that on me. Don't put that on me.
You just said that.
Real quick. Can I say one more thing about what you're saying? And there's actually a good point to that. Because Tierney and Bellerin are both on the field and you don't have Saka on the left-hand side, which means that you have a more defensive cover, it means that Xhaka doesn't actually need to take that left side. And he may not actually feature because the ball that he plays is the same ball that what's the Brazilian guy that we bought as a center back?
Pablo Mari.
If you watch when Pablo Mari plays, he can do that same delivery that Xhaka has.
Or were you talking about David Luiz?
Play, which might actually save us a little.
See, now I was going to say I'm excited for the prospect of having Tierney and Saka play on the left together.
Agreed.
And having Bellerin and Pepe play on the right together. Because I feel like Pepe, for me, has never been given that free reign of just go. He's always had to track back and cover because he's never had a right back.
Always had Mainsley back there.
He's always had someone behind him who's never been that defensively minded, right? But Bellerin knows that role. So now you're going to allow him to just go gangbusters, which is what he was allowed to do in France, which is where he really excelled. And now you have this young, absolute fucking stunner in Saka, who we're another contract situation, but fuck me. I mean, if those two players are allowed to just run riot and they've got the defensive coverage of two players who can also get forward, it's going to be exciting to watch.
You know what might actually happen?
It's going to be 8-1 on Wednesday. You've got me. We're going to win 8-1.
I think the most important part of this discussion is what Aston said, and that is sorting out the midfield. Since the beginning of the season until now, sorting out the transitions has been our biggest problem. One of the first most noticeable things that Arteta did was getting Xhaka to play as a secondary left back when Saka was pushing up. And like you're just saying, this is the thing that I am personally most excited for the rest of the season is seeing Tierney and Bellerin proper fullbacks doing those jobs to release whoever's playing on the wings.
Mm-hmm. And hasn't did Kun Aguero turn 57 during the lockdown? I mean, he's got to be getting up there.
60.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, so he'll still score a hat trick. Ziggler's asking, do we make anything of Xhaka not appearing at all?
That was the one thing I was going to bring up and I forgot.
I've got inside track on this because he and I are besties, and it started when he looked at Mike like he wanted to murder him.
Which did happen, yeah.
Apparently, and again, this is just hearsay. The players that
I have the inside line. Yeah, this is just hearsay.
I don't want to say that because he and I look at you the same way.
Yes.
From what I understood is that Arsenal told the players who have infants or newborns at home that they were not required to be playing in any close contact with players that weren't at the club. Well, no, but his kid's like super young. So I'm just wondering if
why is Mustafi playing then?
Mustafi's kids are like 3 and 7 or some shit.
No, Jaka just had a kid.
Jaka's baby is like 6 months old or less.
Why'd you ask him if he sleep that summer?
What?
Why'd you ask him if he was getting any sleep because of his newborn last summer then? That was like 6 months ago.
Because when your partner in crime says, Andy, I have like a binder this thick of players to ask every question, you grab their attention and then I'll find the said player with the questions listed. And I turned and went, it's Mustafi. I'll grab his attention. You said, I didn't write anything for him. I literally don't have a question for him.
So let me throw another wrench in there, and I want to know what you guys think. Does Ozil play, and how do we sort that out? And the reason I say that is because Ozil, he's a great player, but if you notice on the right-hand side with Pepe, Ozil likes to overlap, and clearly he's getting instructed to fill that right center lane, that little half space right there. But Pepe isn't cutting in. Like what Ozil likes to do is drift out while another player drifts in, and Pepe doesn't like to do that. On the other side, you'll see Saka come in, but you won't see, or Aubameyang come in, but you won't see, and Ozil go out there, but you don't see that as much with Pepe. So how do we fix that, and is he going to play, do you think?
With it being an away game, I'd kind of doubt it.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I also think it has a lot to do with who starts as a center forward.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to start as center forward?
It's Aubameyang.
You don't think Lacazette's going to play?
I could see him being used as a super sub.
Here, how do you think we're going to play? Do you think we're going to play 4-2-3-1, or do you think we're going to do this 4-3-3 thing?
I'm going to give you our lineup right now.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Do it.
Leno in goal. Bellerin on the right. Pablo Mari. I think we're going to I'm saying this. Everyone's going to be angry, but I think Mustafi.
I do too.
For some reason, Arteta fucking loves the guy. I think we're going to go Tierney at the left. Midfield of Torreira, Ceballos, and on.
Torreira's not fit.
I thought he was back in training.
That doesn't mean he's match fit.
None of them are match fit.
Yeah, Mike, idiot.
We have the disclaimer. He said today at 12:30 p.m. that Torreira and Chambers were not going to be back yet. So
I was wondering about that.
Oh, I'm sorry that I had a busy day at work and I didn't get to read all the fucking news.
That's why I'm going to be the one who gets media credentials and not you.
I would have to agree with the comment just now by Trey about Mustafi.
He has been playing a lot better, and I think that he deserves the credit where credit's due.
I completely agree.
Like a brand new player.
Aston, your thoughts on Mustafi or anything?
Oh, no, I was pointing because I'm going to get the media credentials first. But also, on the Mustafi thing,
we got it before. We're going to do it again.
Aston's going to be given the world. Hey, we're going to fly you over for every match. You're going to be our guest. No.
This is how much I would love to see it. Really? Oh my God.
Media credentials and the Gooners podcast get nothing.
This goes back to what I was going to say before, which is I think that Jeff should have committed to Arsenal to stuff that like they don't know that they're giving to you yet, but because Jeff says it, it would make them look bad.
Oh yeah. Let's play this up.
Like he gets to drink in the seats when he comes to a game. He's made the chairman for a year and a half.
Listen,
you get one nude match per month. I mean, this is all that we need to commit the club to at this point.
We all know Aubameyang is his favorite player, and I'll be fucking distraught if he is not holding Aubameyang's hanging out for the opening game of next season as the ball boy. Okay? If that doesn't happen, Arsenal,
the biggest ball boy ever.
31-year-old ball boy.
but hey, I do want to say on the Mustafi thing, this is where he's kind of crazy because Mustafi is actually, and I'm going to say something controversial, he's actually our best defender It's just that he has errors built into him that make him our worst defender. I don't know how else to explain that.
It's about minimizing the errors and being put into a system that doesn't expose you. And I mean, Arteta has come in and we've played 9 Premier League games and 2.
There's a reason Virgil van Dijk is the best defender in the world because he makes 0 mistakes.
There's something to be said for that, but don't forget when we first brought him in, what was that streak? We won
like 19 or something.
Something ridiculous.
Without losing, but at the time.
Look, one more time.
Wasn't he playing with Mertesacker at the time, though?
Yeah, he was, and
I'm just saying Mertesacker's just some. The problem with Mustafi is he's not a leader, and he makes a lot of mental mistakes. So he needs somebody next to him to be like, "Hey, man, tighten the fuck up."
This might be the most exciting thing I've ever heard because there will be no crowd noise. He might be our Milan to Mustafi for the next 2 months. And you know what? Since Arteta took over, I'm not making a direct comparison, but somehow, some way, we've got 5 clean sheets in the 12 games or so that we've played, and something like 3 or 4 clean sheets in the entire 30 games we played before that.
It's June 15th, and we have not lost domestically in 6.5 months.
It's 5.5, but I was at the last game we lost, and it was only because I couldn't get into the game for the first half that we lost. But
and whose fault was that?
Wow, lucky you! You get to go to games.
Aston, that's because I'm a proper supporter, Aston, because I go to games. And
there's this thing called systematic racism. It doesn't allow us to play on.
Play the Jew card, Mike. Play the Jew card. Serve it.
No, I'm going to hold it until later because I have a feeling I'm going to need it.
But no, Andy, finish your
line.
Such
a Jewish thing to do.
Invest for later.
Hey, Andy, seriously, finish your lineup, man.
Oh, no, actually, you know what? I didn't know Taria, but Ziegler and I are 1 and 2 men, both sexually and in friendship, and I think his lineup would be exactly where I would go. Ceballos, Saka, Ozil, Aubameyang, Nketiah, and Pepe.
Where are you putting Nketiah?
Oh, see, I think honestly, Aubameyang and Nketiah and Pepe, I bet they're going to rotate because that's the one thing we've seen with City this season is their back line has really struggled keeping pace. And I think with those 3 players, you can interchange them. And with Ozil being able to ping balls behind him, I mean, they've struggled a lot.
Can I pose one question to the 3 of you that I've been wondering about?
5 inches, but thick.
That was the second question I was wondering about, but it does involve the number 5.
Oh.
With the 5 substitutions, there's been a lot of talk about increased tactical fouling, largely in the vein of sides like Burnley, the Stokes of the world, so on and so forth. And as soon as that became a talking point, the club that I actually focused on it being the biggest issue with was actually City. What do you guys think about that?
Are there other Stokes in the world?
Jeff, I don't know why you're so mad and you keep yelling at us.
It's Mike's fault.
I did nothing wrong.
Yeah. Why are you taking out on Aston? He's our guest. Damn it.
And how many Stokes are there in the world? I mean, I thought it was just Stoke.
No. What he's saying is tactical fouls. And to be completely honest, that's what City do. Like, whenever we would get the ball to their half of the field, they just kind of foul a guy.
Yeah, you think they'd be a little bit more like finesse, but they're not, though.
Yeah, I mean,
I just decreased my own mic.
Fouls in the league, and they're winning. It's just how people win.
You know who drove them in that direction? Their assistant coach.
Who's our head coach?
And who was their assistant coach? Mikel Arteta. So
but to Jeff's point, I do wonder if when you propose the 5 substitute rule, the referees then have to ref the game, I think, differently because of stuff like that. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I bet we don't see that many games where 5 substitutions are used.
Same.
I think we'll see more, like Arteta said today, 3 matches, almost we're playing 3 matches every 10 days, basically.
It's 2 a week. It's like we're in the heart of
we're just it's Christmas. It's Christmas.
The first 5 matches, there's a match every 3 days.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
It's got to be Christmas then, right?
Yeah,
So
that's what you said, Mike.
Why do you, Andy, and everybody believe that Martinelli will not start? I just don't get why we don't start that kid.
That's what I'm saying. I would see him starting over. I mean, if you play Sock on the left side of a 3, then I would see him starting over.
I think put Sock in the midfield.
Over Nketiah.
Even over Ozil, maybe.
I just think Martinelli is more of dude. I think he is
more of an FA Cup player.
I think he's more of an impactful sub coming off the bench. Where
don't put him in the Giroud mold right now.
No, not Giroud mold.
I know what you're saying.
60 minutes into a game, you're drained, and all of a sudden you bring in this fucking 17-year-old stud who's just like speed, skill, take shots, will run at you. Like that kills a defender. Like Kyle Walker's fast, but at the 65th minute mark, when COVID's in your lungs, you're not that fast.
That's a good point, Andy, because the number one thing about Martinelli is he does not give a fuck.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, you could literally give Martinelli, I bet you could give him 10 defenders, 7 shitty ones and 3 of the best in the world, and he will take the 3 in the world, the best in the world, and say, I'm going to take them on. He doesn't give 2 shits.
Yeah, my excitement over him is peaking to a level that I haven't had excitement over a player in a long, long time, and I hope that he comes good.
Well, here's the thing. My excitement is not just him. Have you guys noticed that him and Saka actually work really well together?
Yes.
They're the game where it's almost like they're just playing around with each other, like it's like the schoolyard, and it embarrasses defenders, and that's what I'm ready for. Give me more of that.
And Fredo brings up a good point. We're trying to get Saka to sign. Martinelli is already on a crazy long contract, so make Saka happy. It's a good point. It's a good point.
I'm not saying start Martinelli instead of Saka. I'm saying start him instead of Nketiah and see what happens. But look, we have enough game in front of us where you can have Martinelli be an impact sub once a week and a starter the other time a week and be just fine with it. So
is it true 3 of our first 4 games are away?
Correct.
3 of our first 3 games are away, I believe.
First 3 are.
All 3 of them. Right, and so it'll, because they're playing the City game, they're playing the Brighton game.
Southampton.
Then the South.
No,
Norwich.
The cup game, isn't it?
And Sheffield United's away too.
The next 3 games that Arsenal play, I was supposed to be at until this stupid virus.
Here we go.
Yeah, you're gonna have to hear about that a lot. Anyway,
so we don't play at the Emirates until July 1st.
Jesus.
I mean,
and it's not the Emirates Cup.
Yeah, that's July 1st is normally when like France plays Brazil at the Emirates in like the summer friendly. So
there was supposed to be a concert.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get to user questions, but one more prediction I have, and it has to do with Matteo Guendouzi. Of all the players to suffer the most from what the social distancing and the new rules of this, I mean, this guy is either going to hit rock bottom or he's going to get coronavirus, because dude cannot walk around after we score a goal and not touch somebody or jump on somebody or tongue his teammates like he normally. I mean, he's like me after 20 pints, except he does it when he's sober. That guy needs physical contact.
I'm also certain that corona lives in his hair a lot longer than scientists think it does.
Well, no, he's got defenses against the corona in his hair.
Do you think that's
antibodies are developing inside of his hair?
He's got the vaccine in his hair.
Let me take your question and twist it a little bit. Matteo Guendouzi, where do we see him? Where do we see our kids? Which kids of the 21 and under group do you think are going to make it?
Well, Aston, it's interesting that you say that, because there's a up-and-coming journalist that I'm friends with. His name is Tom Canton. And he doesn't think that Eddie Nketiah will make it at Arsenal.
And he's also under 21 himself, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Eddie is not.
No, I'm talking about Tom Canton, the journalist.
Yeah. No, honestly, I think that Martinelli is going to blow everyone else out of the water.
Agree.
Even over Saka?
Even over Saka.
Okay. What about technically, let's call Ceballos one of the youngsters. He's 21 and he's on loan, and we have him. We have Guendouzi, we have Willock,
Is he 21?
Dylan Niles.
Is
He's a
Ceballos
little older.
I think Ceballos is under 21, isn't he? Didn't he play the under 21s?
Well, that doesn't mean he's under 21. He might have been doing a rehab stint there. I don't think he's under 21. I think Willock will make it.
Bios is
He's
23.
Because I wish he did look to make it. I'll be responsible for Willock making the team.
Okay. I'm putting it on you.
Bill Smith Rowe, I think, has the talent to make it, but won't make it at Arsenal because it's just too many people playing in that position that are fighting for the same spot. And I could see him getting loaned out someplace, doing well there, us doing fine in that position as well. And then, we just end up selling him.
What position do you mean?
I don't know.
Winger.
Winger? Yeah, we do.
Guys, I'm going to make a bold prediction about
On the pitch.
I'm going to make a bold prediction about him, okay?
Yeah.
In the next, I'm going to say 5 seasons, he's going to be in the short list for Ballon d'Or. Ballon. It's French, Mike. Respect the language. God damn it. And a lot of clubs are going to come for his transfer. And I think he's going to turn down. I think he's going to turn down a lot of clubs. I think he's going to stay. He's going to be the type of guy who wants a statue.
And I'm going to tell you something about ESR too that I think a lot of people underestimate, where they overestimate our other youngsters. ESR is the only one of our players that can pass. He really is. Of all the youth players, one of our major issues in midfield is that we never replace Cazorla, Ramsey, Rosicky.
You don't like Saka's passing noose?
Yeah. No, I don't. I think Saka's passing is his weakest part of the game. I think his crossing's fantastic. His delivery is great, but the quick interchanges, the quick passes in the middle of the field, ESR is the only one that's showing me that he can do that, bar Ozil. So that's why I think he's going to stay.
I don't know. It's pretty exciting times, and I think we are in a better position than some of the rivals around us with having these youngsters, because we're going to see the coronavirus affect the transfer window.
Yeah.
And we've got some.
It's going to affect the older players more than the younger players. So it's like, we're not talking 29 is not old, but I have 150,000 times on this podcast put a line in between the 25 and the 26-year-old players and said, if we stacked up our 25 and unders against 25 and unders on every other first team,
we'd mop the floor.
We'd lead the league.
Maybe Liverpool, because
I would be comfortable starting only players 25 and under if yes, we'd miss out on Aubameyang, and I accept Leno from that because keepers don't age. But under 25s, we got a lot of potential on there. Would we beat Liverpool if we just played our 25s against their first team? Fuck no. But
Leno's not going to be at Arsenal in the next 2 years. Leno will not be at Arsenal in the next 2 years.
You don't think so? Why not?
Because Manuel Neuer is getting old. Bayern Munich are going to want a keeper, and Leno is first. They love Germans, right? So
they're not going to grab Ter Stegen back.
No. Leno is better keeper than him, and dude is so young. I mean, how old is he? 25?
He's 27, and his girlfriend, his wife, is unbelievable.
Okay, so 27. So keepers play until what? They're 40.
I need to Google that.
Oh my God! You're not even. Don't even wait till the end of the podcast. We'll excuse you for a few minutes.
Aston, you're actually the first guest who hasn't stopped to play FIFA or something during our pod, and we thank you for that.
Focused on the podcast. No, but yeah, no, I did. Look, we could go on all day like this. We play on Wednesday. I have really just kind of waited to.
Christ.
What?
If you I've heard they've broken up, but Rob Holding versus Bern Leno is an evening out that I want to be around.
Have you seen Rob Holding's girlfriend?
That's what I just said.
I thought you said Bernd Leno's girlfriend.
No, I said the two of them on a double date is a night that I want to be working in the restaurant or some shit like that. But of course, I'm happily married. I'm happily married for 22 years. 23 years. Sorry, forgot.
Oh, she's cute. She got an Emma Watson thing going on.
Who Ooh,
Wait,
that's,
are you guys good at FIFA? Because we can like trade up later and
I'm not. What do you have? Xbox or PS4?
PS4.
I have an
my
Xbox.
son is on the Xbox, which apparently is not the one to be on, but it works for him. All right, so we got some user questions. Let's get to them and then put this to bed. From David Ziegler,
Oh God,
who's
here
been
we
in the
go.
chat, and he's expressing something that's been expressed quite a bit. Can I buy you a pint next time I'm in Orlando?
Yeah, I love alcohol.
Dude,
Matter of fact, every pint you give me, I give back double.
Ooh.
in buying pints or like vomiting?
No, buying pints. Probably.
Okay. I was just making sure. All right, so I hope you have a huge liver because like I've been following on Twitter and Facebook, and everything I've seen is like next time you come to XYZ city, pints are on me. Like you could like make money by paying for travel all over the U.S. and then just
guys,
for free.
Stay with me here. We do the greatest Arsenal bar crawl of all time. City to city, keep getting beer with these guys, drink ourselves, and we just do it again the next day.
Yeah, so Andy and Jeff and I will hide behind you as they buy beers. Like can I start with 3 and then we'll just like
Yeah.
All right. So Gooner Gra Roundup. I always end up buying people drinks. So you've got it figured out. You're on the golden list from this point on. The other question is from Glenn.
Fredo saying we've reached the normal level of the pod, which is rock bottom.
Yes. This is normally where we end up. For some reason, I thought this was going to be a very special episode of the Gooners, but then it ended up being just normal. So, how great is that?
That's kind of my point about the whole thing.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you've absolutely proved the point.
It's what you get for booking it at non-school break special hours.
Well, look, what is the ABC? The
Thank you, Aston.
I appreciate you.
Anyway, I have a simple question from Glenn DITM in New York. Will you be watching the game with fake crowd sounds or natural? I despise the fake sounds, but I respect those who cannot deal with just the sound of commentators, the kick of the ball, and players and managers shouting. I had no idea until I got this message from Glenn, and again, this is how unplugged I've been, that there was a choice.
NBC is offering both feeds, at least for selected games anyway.
Props to NBC for once again being on the leading edge of what the international fan likes when it comes to football. I didn't realize that they were doing that. I've seen both in the German league so far, and I've got an opinion. But Aston, have you been watching it all without crowd noise? What do you like better?
Well, I watched. I don't know if you guys remember when Barcelona was rioting. They played a game behind doors, and I heard Messi swear, and that was awesome. And I'm imagining if Xhaka plays, yeah, that's going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, well, I remember in 1982, I think the NFL played a game where they didn't have announcers.
Jesus, how old are you?
I'm fucking. I'm 97 years old.
That hurts.
It was the Jets and the Dolphins. I actually remember, and they played like it was a big stunt that they did where they had no announcers. It was just the normal ambient sounds. It wasn't no fans. It was no announcers.
I've read about this.
That couldn't have sucked more if they tried.
Yeah.
By the same token, like, are they doing the thing without the announcers?
No.
Both will have the announcers. One
Yes.
will have noise, one will not.
You just hear the two coaches yelling. That's it.
Well, I would rather that than no. I don't know. I'll probably watch it without crowd noise first to try to hear what's going on, to try to get the sense of that. And then after a while, I'll probably get so sick of that not feeling like real football that I'll listen to the crowd noise. I realize how sacrilegious
happening in the world right now.
This is what we're worried
about crowd noise. Like, that's what we've gotten. That we all have this giant. Everyone has an opinion on it.
Andy, are you saying? I mean, this isn't me saying this. This is you. In case we get in trouble, but are you saying crowd noise matters?
I don't know. Aston, what am I saying?
Well, by the way, Andy, that is exactly what you do. We always reach out to our local Negro Damas to make sure that we're playing by the rules.
Yes. So how do I respond? Respond to Mike for me.
Well, what you tell him is that crowds have a long and checkered past with
Oh, it's good to laugh.
Yeah, really. And my God, that you just summarized it. I think I might change the title to "It's Good to Laugh" because there hasn't been a lot of laughing lately. And
the world's been falling apart.
Hey, I do want to give a quick update. So a couple months ago, or maybe a month and a half ago, Mike, we did that kind of shout out on a couple podcasts where my buddy Chris, who's the film director, so he partnered with 1886 on Instagram, selling artwork, sold out, and I think they raised.
How do you partner with like a year?
Very carefully.
I partnered with 1989, and they keep turning me down.
But no, they sold out of all their artwork, and I think they raised over around £15,000 for the NHS.
Awesome.
I think Arsenal got involved and made some big donations. So another good thing to come out of our pod was we did a couple shout outs, but yeah, we helped them. So
you're taking credit for for the NHS.
Hero, Jeff, is a strong word, but if you're going to call us heroes, we'll take it.
I mean, we're not heroes, but we're not not heroes.
Yeah, Aston is. I don't know about you two.
God damn it.
We've never done anything with our lives, but look, Aston,
you look sexy in that shirt.
Hey, I look sexy in no shirt whatsoever, but
did you guys know that Mike was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Why are you doing this?
So a couple weeks ago,
because why not?
A couple weeks ago, a little group of us got together and we watched over Zoom with Mike that Mike was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And
21 years ago.
There's a reason Mike's the sixth smartest man that I know. But
every single time he says this, I fall one piece.
But we need to get
second smartest guy.
We need to share that via our channel so people can see Mike on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
I just want people to see me. What, Aston?
Did you win?
Yeah, I won some money, and I spent it on cultural awareness. Cultural awareness.
Because fucking flowers with it.
That's a thing that you can spend money on, apparently. But yeah, mostly I spent it at the wrong time because I should have saved the money and spent it on hair. That's the biggest takeaway that you get. My head had not yet looked like Jeff's forehead yet.
Hey, Aston, maybe not the best time to speak about it live on air, but Mike and I have been trying to get a banner at the Emirates for the pod. So if you can leverage that into your whole thing, that would be great.
We're going to channel all of our efforts through you now.
Only if the banner is Mike with his shirt off.
Excuse me, sir. This is a family venue.
Would you rather have that or Humber? Which banner would you rather have in the Emirates? That or Humber? I mean, come on.
I'm gonna contact the media guy and I'm gonna be like, listen, guys,
all
lives don't matter until Mike's naked body matters.
It's a banner everybody can get behind, and by that I mean literally everybody in the world could get behind my naked body. And not be seen whatsoever.
We asked him, and he was like, "Aren't you guys on Pornhub?" And then that ended that conversation quickly.
Yeah, we may have 2 or 3 podcasts that were uploaded to Pornhub. They're nudity free, but that still shouldn't convince you against where.
One guy left a comment, "Why is this here?"
And the other 6 people explained it. We have reached that part of the barrel that we normally reach. Aston, man, this has been way more fun than I possibly even could have imagined. This is the time where we find out how, if you want to be reached, how we reach you. I know you mentioned you don't do Twitter, but if anyone's interested in learning more about the Orlando Freedom Fighters, about what you guys have been doing, about any other cause that's important to you, please let us know how we can how we can reach out, how people can get involved in any way. Well, let us know.
So you can reach out to me, which most of you Gooner people have. I'm getting friend requests from all over the world. I am the only Aston Mack in the country.
It wasn't that hard to find you, my friend.
It's super easy. Second thing is the Orlando Freedom Fighters. We both have a member group and a Facebook page, a Twitter and Insta. If you want to know what we're doing, check us out on our Facebook group. That's where we organize. We get supplies together. This is where we're rallying the lawyers, all that stuff. If you want to be involved, you can also contact me directly at aston@offoutreach.com or contact@offoutreach.com.
That's fantastic, man. And I know we've gotten so far away from it, but this wraps us back into the amazing work that you and the people around you are doing. We wish you the best. We hope that you'll, keep us informed if there's any way in our small, tiny little way that we can help get the word out or bridge you together with people. You say it, and we'll do it.
Okay, so all I need to get the word out is 2 tickets to Aubameyang's house.
You know what? Let's see what happens.
But seriously, guys, I want to go ahead and say thank you. I know that you guys feel
he might give you his Lamborghini. So
yeah, that might be a thing. I know you guys think that I'm doing the heavy lifting here, but the reality is you guys are giving me a platform to spread the message. That's actually really special in itself. Not a lot of people do that. Trust me. And I thank you guys for reaching out. And I want to say thank you to all the Gooners out there for supporting us and letting us know that you stand with us. It really does I can't do this for 14 days without support. So thank you guys so much.
Well, dude, it's a pleasure for us to have you on. And I think I speak for Mike that we'll have you back whenever you want to come on.
Yeah.
Look, we do a podcast that we try to capture what we can as far as timeliness and interest in that. And clearly this was an opportunity for us to reach out to somebody who had made news in the Arsenal community lately. Had no idea what kind of personality you had, what your history was, what your comfort level was with banter and enjoyment. And in 90 minutes of getting to know you live in front of other people, I feel a closeness to you. I mean, we want to, we really do want to have. That's Andy's absolutely right. This is fun. We'll do it again. And
there's literally been pods where Mike and I text each other 3 minutes in, being like, "This was a terrible mistake" with certain guests.
We're not going to name names, but
we're not going to name names. But here they all are.
No, but seriously, Aston, man, this has been fun. Jeff, anything? We've talked about Arsenal America on this podcast because Arsenal America has given me and Andy, just by its existence, so much fun and companionship. And
actually, Arsenal America gave me something today, Mike.
One of us uses it much more than the other does, but
well, I don't use Facebook anymore. But today, I tried hanging something in my garage, and where I thought there was a stud, there wasn't. So what did I use to cover up the holes in the wall? My Arsenal America flag.
See, there's good and everything. But honestly, I mean, that 2014, right before the New York trip, I joined Arsenal America. Found out what it was, had to join because that was basically how. I mean, it was how you had to get tickets. But from that point on, I just, I've found it to be an amazing way to get to know fellow Gooners and my best friends in the world right now. Many of them.
Sorry, that made me laugh. In 3 weeks, it could be different, but right now.
Well, I'm just saying they weren't my best friends in the world in 2007 because I didn't know them yet. You piece of.
Hey, no, Mike,
many of my best friends in the world at this present time come from the relationships I made from Arsenal America. So, Jeff, you're the grand poobah and King Kong of a very good organization.
Not quite.
And I would just like to point out that you
Jeff,
do it.
Where can I watch the match
yourself.
on Wednesday?
You do it all by yourself.
Google it.
You've told us it's a one-man show. You have no help from anyone in New Orleans or San Antonio or or San Antonio or anywhere else. You've said it's all you, right?
Yeah.
It's 100% me, and I have no use for any help whatsoever. That is absolutely a lie.
Know what I mean?
There are 7 of us. We complement each other, and I couldn't ask for a better group of people to work with. And just to second what Mike has said, and kind of bringing this full circle a little bit, we really have turned the Arsenal American community into a family. And one of the things that I become the most gratified by is seeing that family expand. So, we're thrilled
He means me, like physically, like he's watched me expand over the last few years.
Well, yeah, that was sort of the subtext, but I was really talking to Aston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm worried about you.
Not everything's about you, Mike.
Today, anyway.
Well, Jeff mentioned that they're very complimentary. I don't know why we don't have that, Andy, because you've never complimented me in my life.
Hey,
You're a man with a beautiful beard.
Right, but Jeff, for real though, if you can just send me a list of 3 to 4 places I can watch the match on Wednesday, that would be great.
I can't guarantee it's current.
I'm gonna be in New York, and I need to find a pub where I can watch the match.
I'll tell you what, I will find our list of defunct personal watching sites, and you can figure out which of the 10 I send you is actually an active one.
There we go. That will work.
Actually, Andy, you know what? You should go. There's this place on Colfax called the 3 Lions.
Yeah, that place is great. I just love when people openly, and anyone who listens to this who's going to post in Arsenal America should say, Tom Rosenhammer sent me here. And throw him under the bus.
Yes, absolutely. Aston, let's see you on Arsenal America soon. Stay in touch. I love you, man. It's been great to get to know you. And Andy, Jeff, have a wonderful week. We will be back on. We are working out a very interesting and special, enjoyable podcast. We're about the games and the interest, right, more than just talking about tactics, all that. So we have a pretty interesting concept coming up. If it comes off, you'll hear about it in the next couple of weeks with some very good guests and a pretty entertaining, fun show. So,
it's about meeting guys, meeting girls, having fun.
I'm sportsman.
Out, being one of the bros.
Hey,
Exactly.
if you go to Pornhub and you go to the Guy on Guy section, you'll find the Gooners podcast.
Yeah, if you enter a promo code Andy Rhodes.
I love how you put my face as all of the thumbnails too.
Yes. I mean, I have a career.
I do too, and my boss.
I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about your career.
Did I ever tell you the story about how? Okay, so just
get off the air here.
Just really quick. Well, actually, let's go off the air, and I'll tell you 4. All right.
Oh no, you got to do it now.
Bye.
All right, this is going to be good. And if you donate $80,000 to Gooners versus Cancer, you'll get the